welcome back. Today's foray into the realm of retro is going to be looking at the Spectravideo SV601 Super Expander. It's from what I've read, a 7-slot chassis that allows you to expand the Spectravideo floppy drives, 80-column cards, and various other peripherals. There was also an SV605 Super Expander, which I don't know whether you'd call it the big brother or the little brother of this one. The 605 only had 4 slots, but it had 2 integrated floppy drives, so I guess you could argue either way. But anyway, this is how I received this one in its box, like all of the other Spectravideo components. So yeah, let's open it up and see what we've got. So the box is in pretty good condition. No real surprises given the condition of the rest of the boxes the system came in. Most notably, it says that the housing is good for a, well, it says 15-inch TV monitor up here and 14-inch TV monitor here, but basically up to 20 kilos it's rated for on top. So that's a fairly decent weight for a monitor. There's not really much else on the box, I don't think. No, it's just the same on the other side. So let's see if we can work out how this comes open. Right, it's out. Right, and as you can probably see, that's a little bit grimy up here compared to the rest of the system. So I don't know how that came to be. Whether maybe the computer itself had a cover over it and this didn't. It's also odd that this is dirty underneath where you think a monitor would be sitting on top. So don't know what the story is there, but the first hint that I saw that there's been some user modifications to this is this. Yeah, it's a variable resistor, but it's just flapping around in the breeze there. It's a bit loose, so I don't know if that's some sort of volume control or something else. But anyway, and we can also see that this has a floppy disk controller, which makes sense because I do have the floppy drive that came with this system, and it has an 80-column video board, so that's nice. Actually, before we do take the cover off, we did get the manuals with this, and you might initially think one's a photocopy of the other, but it's actually not. The perspective, or the rotation, whatever you want to call it, of these machines is different. The font's different, the logo's different. So they are different manuals for whatever reason. So we'll see what we've got. It's really just telling us how to unpack it. What else is it telling us? How to plug it in. Looks like the power supply for the system goes inside this unit, which is interesting. So I'm guessing the computer, once this is connected, the computer must be powered from this. That's nice. The RF modulator, if you're using it, can go inside the expander, so you don't have an extra box hanging around. That's nice. How to insert cartridges. The pin out of the connector, the cartridges you can put in it. So you can put in a modem, a floppy controller, a printer interface, 16K RAM cartridge, an RS-232 interface, 80-column card, 64K RAM cartridge, and printer with interface card. I'm not quite sure what that is, how that differs. Maybe the SV901 is a custom Spectravideo printer And the 802 Centronic printer interface is the standard Centronics interface. Not sure. So that's that manual. We'll see if we can see at a glance how this manual is any different. Comes with a warranty card as well. Yeah, it is different. So this shows that we can put in an IEEE 488 interface as well in this manual. Something I did note earlier is the floppy disk controller has to go in slot 6. Apparently it's the slot 6 or slot 7, the last slot anyway. It's the only slot that it can go in. So the images are a lot nicer in this version of the manual. But that's really about it. I'm not seeing any dramatic differences. Okay. Right, so let's lift the lid on this and see what we've got. I thought this lid just lifted off. Does it not lift off? I thought it almost lifted off on me before. There we go. Hey. Right, so what have we got going on in here? Clearly some user modifications going on here. So we have some sort of, I'm guessing this has been used as a bus extension cable. We'll have a look at that a bit more closely in a minute. A video cable. Okay, so this potentiometer on the front that's you can see is held on with blue tack. Appears to be some sort of sound interface of some description. So we've got what looks like an RCA output, 5-pin DIN. I'm not sure what that plugs into. I'm guessing into the computer, but that's just a cover off the front. One of these little holes here covers those, so keep that. Now we've got another one of those covers that's got some momentary switches that plug into this very homemade looking card. Got a cable, which, I mean, looking at that, surely that's going to be a Centronics printer cable, I would assume. So I'll lift that card out. We'll have a bit more of a detailed look at that card in a minute, see if we can work out exactly what it is. But back to this cable. I'm thinking that was used to plug in here. Maybe not. It's a bit of a dodgy construction, but yeah, thinking that was used to plug in there. And then when they were developing, if you can call it that, this card, maybe the card was sort of plugged in like that, so they could have it out on the bench and work on it, rather than trying to debug it while it was sitting up vertically in the chassis. So I'm guessing that's probably what this is for. It's probably just a bus extension that's fairly corroded and gnarly looking. It'd need a good cleanup if you're ever going to use it, but yeah, I'm guessing that's what it was intended to be. Then we've got, hello, what have we done here? What have they done here? Why is there what looks like a Homebrew soldered on RCA video out on the back of the 80 column card? Interesting. I wonder how that normally works. I'll have to look that up. later and see how that's supposed to work normally. Unless, I mean, it sort of looks like there's supposed to be an RCA jack soldered onto the board that presents out the back here, but there's never been one. You see there's never had one soldered on. The pads are still brand new, except for where they've soldered this on, but anyway, we'll get to that. Then we've got our floppy disk controller, which, okay, so the drives plug into these headers here. Supports 2 drives. Okay. Then there's another one of these panel covers that's just been taped down at the back. And a little bit of plastic that's broken off something by the look of it that someone's taped down as well. So then we've got a power supply, which is, now I'm confused because this appears to have come with a power supply, but the computer itself has a power supply, so I'm not sure now whether I'm supposed to use both power supplies or just one. I will have to do some reading, I think. And then we've got the actual power supply in here with the voltage regulation and what have you's done. Interesting. Yeah, so I believe it's just a passive backplane. There's your first 6 slots, and then the last slot where the floppy drive goes, as you can see, it's a shorter slot. So it is actually different. So presumably the edge connector on the card here is different to the one on the 80 column card. And yes, it is. It's positioned differently and it's shorter. Looks like this tab here stops you putting the floppy drive card in any other slot, and the fact that the connector is longer on the other card stops you putting it in the floppy slot. So it's not just a written down rule that you have to put the floppy disk controller in slot 6. It looks like you physically can't put it anywhere else. So looking at this audio accessory that's been added to the case, I'm guessing what's happened here is this, I mean, this is obviously just an extension cable, a 5 to 5, DIN 5 to DIN 5 extension cable. But I'm guessing this was plugged into the video port on the computer, and it was picking up the computer's audio from there. I suspect this machine may have only ever been used in 80 column mode, because otherwise they would have to have taken the video from here and fed it out somehow, unless that's what this is for. I assumed this was for external audio, but maybe it's not. Maybe this is, let's have a look. Maybe it's passing the video through. It's been ever so carefully wrapped up in masking tape. I won't be putting this back in, so I'm not too fussed about undoing it. It'll be a sticky, goopy mess, which it absolutely is. Made on Vero board. Yeah, so that does appear to be what's going on. There's one pin out of this 5-pin connector in here that's going, if we can see, it's going straight from this cable, which looks to be a bit of old 2-pair phone cable. It's going straight out here. So I reckon that's what they've done. They've brought the video in on this cable and they're passing it straight out on this one. So it's not an audio out at all. And then in here we've got an LM380, which I think's going to be an op amp, but it's probably just being used as a low power amplifier to amplify the audio to drive this little 8-ohm speaker. So hopefully this, oh look at that, it just comes straight out, and as you see, held in with blue tack. You would have thought since they drilled a hole in this, that they would have at least put the ring nut on there to hold it, then they wouldn't have needed the blue tack. But anyway, so the intention was good, but yeah, all it needed was a nut instead of blue tack. It would have been much nicer. Anyway, so that's what this contraption is. Somehow I lost the video of me examining the Homebrew expansion card, so we'll have to make do with some still images. From the front, we can see a 74HC08, which is a quad 2 input AND gate, a 74HC32, which is a quad 2 input OR gate, a 74HC138, which is a 3 to 8 decoder demultiplexer. Those three are used for the address decoding. We see a 74HC367, which is a tri-state hex buffer line driver. This is used to put the printer status onto the data bus when required. So when you're reading from the card, it'll enable that 367 and pass the status through onto the data bits 0, data bit 0, data bit 1, and data bit 2. And we've got a 74LS374, which is a tri-state octal transparent latch. And that's used to latch the byte from the data bus that's being sent to the printer. So looking at the back, not really much to see. A couple of yellow jumper wires to connect bits of the board together. One of them's there just to correct a defect in the board, but otherwise not a whole lot to see. I've drawn up a rough schematic based on reverse engineering the PCB layout. I'd stress that I haven't actually built one of these, so there's no guarantee the schematic is correct. From this though, we can see that one of the momentary switches is a CPU reset, which is attached directly to the system reset line. The other one appears to be a printer reset that pulls the reset signal to the printer low when it's pressed. The Spectravideo version of this interface is built quite differently. Although it appears the Homebrew interface would be compatible, the official SV802 interface doesn't feed the paper out and error signals from the printer back to the system, so the Homebrew card is superior in that regard, assuming of course that the software that you're using supports those features. So that wraps up our quick look at the SV601 Super Expander. Next time we do a Spectravideo video, we'll likely be looking at the 80 column card or the disk controller card and the floppy drive. We'll probably make 2 videos out of that lot. In the meantime, if you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe, tap that like button, do those other YouTubey things, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.